my best friend was catfished by my dad. So me and my best friend were kind of just like swiping through Tinder for fun. And then she came across this really, really hot dude. So of course, she swiped right and they talked all night long. And he said he had an Android, so he couldn't FaceTime, but his messages were blue, so I thought something was off. She was too blinded to see that something was up in the first place because she was messaging with a really hot guy. So about a week of them just like texting back and forth and I guess getting to know each other, they decided that they were going to meet up. So they both decided that they were going to meet up at an Olive Garden near them. And you see, as her best friend, of course, I'm going to have to go with her. So I got dressed up and I sat about 5 tables away from her. And we got there about 30 minutes earlier than we were supposed to be there. Okay, so my best friend had 3 bowls of fettuccine alfredo before he got there. So when he got there, it wouldn't look like she ate a lot. Then I see my dad walk in, all dressed up and fancy with a bow tie and everything. This story time just gets so much more funnier, so like for a part 2. Part 2 of how my best friend was catfished by my dad. Continuing with the story, I see my dad walk into the restaurant all dressed up. Mind you, my dad's married. To my mother, of course. So I was like, ooh, my dad and my mom are finally going on a date together. And then he looks over to my best friend and walks over to the table. When I tell you my heart dropped, my heart has never sank so deep inside me so fast. He sits down and asks her, is this Mackenzie? When I tell you I busted out laughing so freaking hard I fell out of my chair. And almost everybody in the restaurant turned around and looked at me, and so did my dad. And I walk over to the table and I'm like, what the heck is going on here? My best friend is literally just sitting there in shock, no emotion on her face. Then he looks at us, he looks really confused, his face goes blank, and then he goes, I was just trying to teach y'all girls a lesson. I told my mom and I was just getting a laugh out of it, and then she looked through his phone and said that he was meeting up with a bunch of 14-year-old girls. So comes to find out, my dad is a pedophile. My mom kicked him out, and if you're one of those girls, I really do apologize. Story time of how I found out that there was a guy living in my attic. I'm even pretty sure there's a couple articles on this. So basically, living in the house was me, my mom, my dad, and my younger sister. This story ends up taking a huge twist, so just stay tuned for that. Also, keep in mind that my boyfriend's name at the time was Jacob. When I first started to notice that there was somebody else in my house was when I first started dating Jacob. Mind you, the only time anybody in my entire family has ever been in the attic is the first 2 months that we lived there. And it was only once or twice, and we never seen anything up there. So we would notice that bits of our food would go missing. And every time we packaged leftovers, the leftovers in the Tupperware that we packaged the leftovers in would just completely disappear. And a bunch of my stuff would always go missing. For example, 2 of my pillows and 4 of my blankets gone missing. And my shoes and my clothes and even my underwear. So one day my boyfriend came over and he left around 1 a.m. So the rest of my family was sleeping. Also, I have the whole entire upstairs to myself. And my mom, dad, and my sister sleeps downstairs. This story just ends up getting really crazy, so like for a part 2. Part 2 of how I found out that there was a guy living in my attic. Continuing with the story, I go downstairs and I walk my boyfriend out to the car. Of course, trying to be quiet because the rest of my family is sleeping. So I go back upstairs. Mind you, I have the whole upstairs to myself. And then I go to the bathroom and there was pee in the toilet. And on the wall in front of the toilet, it said Jacob was here with a heart. So I took a picture of it and I posted it on my private story because I just thought it was funny and cute at the same time. And he slid up and said, what? And then he swore up and down that it wasn't him. So anyways, it freaked me out at first, but at the same time, I didn't really care. So I didn't really pay any mind to it. So to speed the story up, my dad had to go in the attic for something, and he found an actual mattress covered in insulation. And in the corner, he found a guy. The guy looked very sickly, skinny, but scary at the same exact time. So, of course, my dad called 911 right away, and the guy admitted to stealing our food, stealing my underwear, stealing things out of my room, basically stealing from us overall, stealing our food, etc. I'm running out of time, but he ended up being a wanted criminal, but he's in jail now, so yeah. Story time of how my stepmom got so jealous of me and my dad's bond that she plotted to kill me. So I never really liked my stepmom in the first place because she was a little controlling over my dad. And I just knew that she hated me and I really hated her too. But you know, my dad was in love and he seemed happy, so I didn't really say anything. And my dad would always take me to lunch on Saturdays and Sundays. And we'd have like a dad-daughter bonding day, I guess. And me and my dad were just super close. And every single weekend, me going to lunch with him would start an argument between them two because she said I was taking time away from them two. My dad really never chose sides, but I never really got involved in the relationship as much as I hated her because I just loved seeing my dad happy. Also, at this time, I was 15. And what I'm about to say next might sound just a little crazy and unbelievable, but I'm not sure who she was on the phone with. But while on the phone with somebody, she was talking about getting rid of me. Mind you, my mom had passed away when I was younger, and I really had no other family to go to. Now, this is where the story takes a turn for the worse and she tries to get rid of me. I'm running out of time, like for the crazy part 2. Part 2 of how my stepmom got so jealous of me and my dad's bond that she plotted to kill me. Continuing on with the story, I don't know who she was on the phone with, but I overheard her on the phone saying that she was going to get rid of me. And honestly, I didn't really care and I didn't really think anything of it because I knew she was crazy, but I didn't think she was that crazy. So all of a sudden, she started making me breakfast. And I'm not a breakfast person. I can't eat right when I get up. So every time she would make me breakfast, I'd be like, thanks, but I'm not hungry. And she would get so mad. Like, so freaking mad. I'm not going to get into all the little details, but comes to find out, she was putting rat poison in my food. She had set up cameras in my room. And I don't know what kind of sense this makes. I think she's just crazy, but she started to hide snakes in my room and claim it was my fault that the snakes were coming in my room. Yeah, doesn't really make any sense. Once I told my dad and my dad got out of his little in love stage with her, he finally stepped up and said something to her. And she admitted that she wanted me dead. He eventually called the cops, and to this day, she is in jail for attempted murder. Oh, did I forget to mention the day that he broke up with her, she tried to stab me in the throat. Story time of how I found out that my 13-year-old sister was sleeping with my teacher and nobody ever did anything about it. So this is the first time that I'm actually telling anybody because I'm finally old enough to realize that all of this was just wrong. So at the time, my sister was in 8th grade and I was in 6th grade. So my sister claimed that she needed extra help in history, and I guess my mom trusted him because after school he would take me and my sister to his house and then help my sister. And he would always say he had to get ready before he tutored her because they would go in the room with the door shut. But he said that was the only way for her to learn best. And while we were waiting for him to get ready, me and my sister would play this literal funnest and most satisfying game ever. It's where you grow little plant dudes, and me and her literally got so addicted to it. The link to that is also going to be in my bio. And then he would start playing the game with her, trying to get on her good side. And then they make me wait in the living room for about an hour while they study. And every day she would come out saying, oh my god, I learned so much today. I mean, she did learn something. Anyways, I'm running out of time for part 2. Part 2 of how I caught my 13-year-old sister sleeping with her teacher. So continuing on with the story, I was just waiting outside the room until they got done. And one day my mom called me and said that it was an emergency and she had to pick us up early. So I knocked on the door really lightly and then I opened the door. And I'm surprised it wasn't locked. And I opened the door and I see my 13-year-old sister and her 42-year-old teacher just getting it on. I mean, I ain't no snitch, so I didn't say nothing. At the time, I was 11 years old in 6th grade and I high-fived her. Then the teacher bribed me with $500 to not say anything. Again, I was in 6th grade at the time, so my parents would definitely wonder where I got the money from. So the teacher told me that if I let them keep doing their thing, he'll make this fake raffle and say that I won it. Because me and my sister were so close, I never snitched on her. And this is the first time I'm telling the story. Me and my sister don't talk anymore. So if you're that teacher that gave me $500 to keep effing my older sister, you are probably one of the most disgusting people that I've ever met. And if this story gets out there, sorry for saying this, but I need to get this out there, John Wilson, you deserve to rot in jail.